Welcome to Dungeon Academics. My name is Thomas and I will be your instructor. Let's consider character creation, one of my favourite topics in all roleplay games, but let's specifically think about it in terms of Dungeons and Dragons. What defines your character? Well, when most people talk about their character, they will say, I'm a dragonborn cleric or I'm a tiefling monk. So character race and character class are the two most important things. And if we look at how the game works through character progression, character class is the thing that really develops. Do you get any development from your character's race or species? Not really, no. One of the things I quite like about Baldur's Gate 3 is that there are certain abilities that unlock when you level up certain player species. I think Dungeons and Dragons would be great if it did that, and I believe that some other systems have actually included that in them. So why don't we level up our player species? Why don't we develop new abilities as our player species levels up? Another thing that defines your character is your background. Now, most people treat background as a couple of free skills and an interesting story perk that you get in character creation, but it doesn't really do much after that. So would it be nice if your background unlocked certain abilities as you level up? I think it would. I think it would be brilliant if you played... if you had a guard background, and as you leveled up, you gained certain abilities that allowed you to interact with people on guard or prisoners or do interrogations, things like that. Why can't we have abilities that level up with our character class as well? Our character background as well as our character species. And how about one final note? The campaign setting. Would it be interesting if, depending on your different campaign setting, you got a different set of abilities that leveled up with you? Say if you were playing Curse of Strahd in Barovia, in one of these fiendish pocket dimensions, would you have access to a separate set of abilities that leveled up in the dimension of dread? Would that be different if you're playing in a Strixhaven campaign or if you are playing in a Dragonlance campaign? What I've noticed is that quite a few of the settings books have backgrounds that give access to feats that you only have access to when you level up. So this is kind of included already, but you have to sacrifice taking a feat or an ability score increase to get these interesting story points. What happens if we take these away from feats and backgrounds and have it as another thing that characters can level up? So they have their class, and every time they level up, they get an ability or set of abilities from their class. I've already talked in another video about a different way of doing ability score increases and having having rules for your ability scores going up every level, starting at a slightly lower base and improving. So in addition to your class going up, you get a small ability score increase. You then potentially get either a player species bonus or a background bonus or a realm bonus, depending on which realm you're playing in. So every time you level up, you'd get a class bonus, you get a small ASI, ability score increase, and then either background, species, or realm bonus. I think that would be great. I think it would allow you to have lots of flexibility in designing a character. And I'm going to mention the dreaded M word for monetization. It gives something that could be sold that isn't needed. Imagine you had a campaign book and you're going to run a campaign in this new campaign setting, and the DM buys the book. That's it. That's all the money that needs to be spent to play in this campaign setting. One person has to have a copy of the book. Now, Wizards of the Coast is spitting because they're losing out on money, because everyone gets to enjoy this, but only one person spending money on it. And they don't like that. So what happens if they say, well, we're going to give an option that the players can spend money on as well, if they want to? Because inside that book, there are all the different player abilities for the realm that get leveled up every few levels. But what they could also do is they could sell those abilities as a pack of cards that the players could buy if they want to. Now, they don't have to. They can write those abilities down on their character sheet and just remember to use them. But as I've been talking about in many previous videos, just excuse me a second, I love having ability cards. They fundamentally change the way you play Dungeons and Dragons in a really nice way, which is why I've made them. The reason I made them is because I had a goblin bard character. He was a warlock bard multiclass, and I consistently forgot to apply the Fury of the Small damage and the Genie's Wrath damage. Now, if I'm playing and I have those things in my hand, I'm more likely to use them. And I actually found it was actually really interesting. With my new character, Doug the Turtle, when he hits someone with his staff, I say, oh yeah, I'm using the Booming Blade cantrip, and I play the spell card, and I'm going to use the Crusher feat to push him back a few feet, and I play the Crusher feat, and I've also got Hex on him, and I put the Hex card down. This is a really nice way to show what's going on with your attack. It also helps you remember the abilities you've got because they're in your hand, and I've color-coded them based on their triggers, whether it's action or... So I've color-coded them on when I get them back, whether I get them back at the end of the turn, or a short rest, or a long rest. And there's also notes on them about whether they're bonus actions, or damage riders, or full actions, or reactions. I like these cards. And I believe that most players who are playing around a table would be interested in them. If they were available as a PDF, they'd probably want to print them out. And if they were available as a nice set of good heavyweight cards with nice art on them, I think enough people would go, yeah, actually, I do want to buy that. It will make my gaming experience better. Here's the important thing. You don't have to. You don't have to buy them. You can write it down on your character sheet and use it that way. But if you have the option of having a nice bit of card with your rules on it that you can remember to use, I think enough players would go, yeah, that's good, I like that. So Wizards of the Coast now have a set of products that they can make that players can choose to buy if they want to. They have different ones for different species. You can have species packs, and it might have 5 or 6 different species with all their potential upgrades they get as they level up. And you can have them for classes, so you can have all the different class abilities. You could do one with backgrounds, and you can have the different abilities you get as your background levels up. And finally, you can have one based on the realm. You're playing in the Forgotten Realms, here's the Forgotten Realms pack. You're playing in Strixhaven, here's the Strixhaven pack. You're playing in the Dread Dimension of Barovia, here's the Barovia pack. This gives potential product and revenue streams to Wizards of the Coast. It's not exploitative, you don't have to buy them. But it's nice. If you want to buy them, you can, and it will make your gaming experience more enjoyable. And this is a concept that I'm really pushing. It's design with the opportunity for monetization in mind. How can I make a game that is fun, but it's also a product that people want to buy? Maybe that's a slightly mercenary way of thinking about it, but I made these cards purely to make my gaming experience better, and they have done. And if Wizards of the Coast made them like official versions with nice art, rather than my low skills in graphic design, or no skills in graphic design, let's be fair, I'd rather have the nice ones. So Wizards of the Coast is leaving money on the table. I would give my hobby budget to them for a product, but that product doesn't exist. And why aren't they designing the game to have these potential product ideas? We don't want a fancy virtual tabletop with loot boxes and subscription fees and microtransactions. We want to sit around a table with a character sheet, some dice, and maybe ability cards. And adding an extra source of ability cards is an interesting way to flavour your character with respect to the campaign setting that you're in. And it's a product that players might be interested in. So Wizards of the Coast is not solely monetizing Dungeon Masters. Anyway, those are my thoughts. How would you feel about having a second leveling up path for your character where you got additional abilities based on your species and your background and the realm that you're playing in? Would that interest you? It interests me. Well, thank you for listening to me talk about this, and enjoy your next game, whatever it may be.